As part of our discussion on violence against women, we're going to talk about rape culture. So I'm just giving you a warning that this material is very difficult and emotionally heavy. And I realize that sometimes people are victims of sexual assault, and this might be triggering to listen to. So please take care as you listen. So let's first look at the definition of rape culture according to your notes. It's an environment in which rape is widespread. Sexual violence against women is seen as normal and excused in media and popular culture. It's not like we have a culture that says it's okay to rape women, but we certainly don't have a culture that discourages it. Women are objectified, their stories of sexual violence are often ignored. Now, I realize that we're in the Me Too movement, so people are taking women's stories about sexual violence a lot more seriously. But historically, law enforcement and the criminal justice system have treated victims of sexual violence horrendously. And we do see, even today, in media and television, even in video games, women are objectified and their bodies are seen as just sexual objects. So rape culture is perpetuated or spread through the use of misogynistic language. Misogyny refers to hatred of women. So when women are referred to as, excuse my French, bitches and whores and sluts and so forth, that's misogynistic language. You are dehumanizing that person. You're dehumanizing her as a human being, and you're referring to her in very derogatory terms. The objectification of women's bodies, when you focus on the shape of her legs, the size of her butt, her breasts, so forth and so on, you're objectifying her. Think about the commercials that we look at today, even when someone is eating food like ice cream or chocolate. Oftentimes, you see a woman eating it, don't you? Like, what is that? Chocolate bar, Magnum. You see the woman just sensually putting the ice cream to her mouth and biting down to it on it as if it's a sexual object of some sort. They're sexualizing the eating of ice cream, and they're using women to do it. Oftentimes, we take that for granted. But as a sociologist with a sociological imagination, it's my job to point that out so you'll never take that for granted again. Remember this ad that I showed you earlier from Dolce & Gabbana? This is what we mean by normalizing sexual violence. You have an ad where you're selling cologne, and you choose to display a sexual assault, a gang sexual assault, as a way to sell the product. That's what we mean by normalizing and excusing sexual violence. And the glamorization of sexual violence. So we glamorize it. We glorify it in films. Slasher films are constantly showing women in states of undress, running through the woods while a man with a phallic object, a knife, chases her to do what? Penetrate her. So the knife replaces the penis. This creates a society that disregards women's rights and safety. So on the next slide, we're going to look at some characteristics or examples of rape culture.